So an updated guide to the TSN Sandbox activation sequence. I currently have my server running. I have ship 1 TSN Saber selected, the main screen and the game master selected. When I cycle to ready to play, it will open up the GM console for me, and it also spawns the TSN Saber because it's not spawned yet. When you're activating, it's best to wait until all your player ships have spawned. They spawn in grid alpha 5 up here. As soon as they've all finished spawning and the synchronizing messages have disappeared, then you can start the actual activation sequence itself. Here you have an activate GM mode button. There's also some instructions as well about the activation sequence, breaking it down step by step so that you can go through it bit by bit and know what you're doing. If I click on the GM mode button, you'll notice it flickered on and off there. The reason is if you join later in after the server started and it's not there, it will refresh itself, so you don't have to worry about being in when the server starts. You can wait a few minutes and then join in, or you could even swap who's on your game master. Once I've clicked that, I'm presented with 3 menus: lower arc systems, upper arc systems and command bases. All the systems in the sandbox are organised into these 3 menus and allow the GM to pick different places to spawn players. If at any point I need to go back to the activate GM mode button and start over from the beginning, I can use this reset sandbox button. That stays there until the whole activation is complete and the TSN sandbox is started properly. Now if I click the lower arc systems, you'll see that it comes up with the 5 current systems in the lower arc. This is going to expand as the TSN Sandbox expands, so it may be that in your version there's several different systems added to this menu as well. If I decide that I don't want to be in the lower arc, I can reset the sandbox, go back to the beginning of the activation sequence. The command bases allows you to spawn players at a particular command post. It skips the rest of the activation and places them at a shipyard at one of these command posts. These are all TSN controlled posts, so they're all allied to the actual players themselves. Instead, if I want to start them in a particular area or a particular sector, I would just go into the upper arc systems. These are the ones that were originally in the sandbox and are the ones on the stellar navigation maps as well. Each one of these allows me to look at a sector layout. So for example, the Atlantis system is 20 sectors in size, with sector 1 in the top right corner and sector 20 in the bottom right corner. If I don't want Atlantis system, I can click this arc systems here and that will take me back to the rest of the systems. So I could, for example, choose Atlantis, change my mind, go back and instead choose the Danae system. Here you can see the sector map is a different size. This reflects how big the Danae system is. Each one of these is the actual sector map that you can see on the captain's map, the game master map and the science console map. Once I've selected the actual system that I want to begin in, for example I want to start in Atlantis sector 8, as soon as I click that button, the TSN Sandbox will finish the activation sequence and will start. There's a pop-up message that gives you an indication that the TSN Sandbox has started. The actual sector itself will spawn and the GM console buttons will appear. These are the basic menu buttons. I go through these in different guides. At this point, if the GM wanted to change or if the GM dropped out for some reason during the mission, the buttons actually end up disappearing. To reset these buttons, you press the R key, that's the Romeo key, on the keyboard and it brings back up the GM menu. That's everything from this guide. If you keep an eye out for my other guides, they go through different menus, looking more in depth at them and what each button does and the options that are available to the Game Master. Thanks for listening.